Hello, I've got a wonderful and special guest, Felicity Wren, my friend, coworker. We've been with the ISA for a little while now. A question that gets asked a lot is, what is even the ISA Development Slate, the Dev Slate, as we call it? And really, this came out of Third Thursday, the group in Madison, Wisconsin that meets all the time. They wanted to have a whole get-together meeting so they can find out these answers. And I thought, well, that means I need to know the answers to be able to go and report to them. So no one better to talk to than Felicity here, who's been overseeing it since its inception. And I'll just hand it over to you right away. So just from somebody that maybe is hearing about it for the first time, what is the ISA's Development Slate?
The ISA's Development Slate is a top-tier selection of writers. And what we do for the Development Slate is we try and give them the opportunity to be found. Because I think that's the thing that is the most difficult for being a screenwriter, is you have this amazing idea for a script. Then you take all the time to write it, perfect it, make it beautiful, and then you've got it, and then what? You need to find someone that can champion you, that cares about your work, that can see you in your work, and then is willing to trying to help you in some way. The Development Slate is that for our ISA writers, and we find them from all sorts of different places. So it's not just a one size fits all for finding the writers, but it is one thing that we do want, and that is a really great script to begin with, and also a really great attitude from the writer. So we need someone who's interested in their career, that wants to do the work for themselves, that is totally fine getting notes, because notes are definitely part of the industry procedure. Part of being in the industry is someone telling you that this is wrong and you need to find a way to do it, to change it, to make it more like how I want it. And you have to somehow keep that look on your face that means even though I want to kill you, I'm not going to. I'm just going to remain very open to these notes and go like, oh yeah, that's an interesting point. Yes. And then go away and process them. But at the time, you have to keep smiling and go like, oh, wow, gosh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Even if you had thought of it like that, and it's just they haven't read it properly. You can't show them up in that moment. You just have to kind of go along with it. Or you can say, actually, I did try and get that, so maybe you didn't see that. Maybe I need to lean into that more, but still own it. And that is something that we do for the Development Slate too, is we do speak to writers about how they receive notes. We have an interview with everyone before they even join the slate, just to make sure that they, can I say this? I'm not an a-hole. Oh. Not an a-hole. Yeah. Because literally the Development Slate writers are our voice out in the industry as well. We have spent the last 16 years building the brand of the ISA and what we stand for. And one of them is kindness and respect to the screenwriter and to the professionals in the industry. So if you're going to go out and be very arrogant, not take notes, think your script is perfect when someone else is paying you for it, then actually you're not going to last very long in the industry. And also we don't want to be associated with that. We want writers that go like, oh, okay, not to be a pushover, it's your work and it's your baby, but to go like, okay, I need to be able to listen to other opinions. And I need to be able to understand that actually they might have a point, especially if you keep hearing the same note.
I hear that a lot when I talk to showrunners about how they staff their rooms. I mean, sometimes it's just that basic, are you a good human that I want to spend a lot of time with? Yeah. Yes. If you've gotten to this point, you have the talent. There's a lot of people with talent. Not everybody's a nice person.
Well, also as well, like you might not be ready yet. It might be a few times where you're beaten down a bit by someone and you react aggressively, or you get very upset, whatever it is, start crying. There's all sorts of things you can do. But then you actually go like, actually, I'm going to change my behavior. I don't want to be that person in the room. We're all just works in progress, right? So there's nothing, if you get it wrong one time, that's okay, as long as you learn from it. But I think mainly people want to have as less drama as possible in the writer's room or with a writer, because you want the drama to be on the page, not in the process of making it. It's already hard enough. It's hard enough to make a movie. It costs so much money. It's hard enough to make a TV show, to try and get everyone aligned, including the network, including the money people, including the stars that now have a say in how their character is portrayed. So it's hard enough. We don't want to be fighting with the writers. We don't want any infighting.
Absolutely true. So I'm going to get to the questions that were left for us from the Third Thursday Madison group, which is a good note also, that if you have questions, the ISA does a lot of different things. If you have questions, leave it in the comments and we might make a video about it. So from Third Thursday Madison. So first off, how are the writers selected to be on that slate?
I always say to everyone, there's a lot of ways to be selected for the development slate. We have a bunch of interns that come every semester. And I say to them, you're a detective on the hunt for the most incredible talent and a writer that we don't know about. So that's the first thing to know, is that if you are on the ISA site, then we are looking at you. If you put something on a success story, then we're reading that success story. Actually, I read every single one of them because I edit them and put them up. So if you write a success story, it's definitely going to be in front of me. And I'm one of the development team, and we choose who's on the development slate. So that's a nice big shortcut to sharing your success and then showing us your success. So definitely write success stories. I don't understand, people don't want to brag about the tiny moments that are making up their career. And to be honest with you, those are the pieces that make your career. And when you look back on it, it's all those little ticks, those little moments of joy that make it all worthwhile. Don't wait for the really big success. If you've finished another draft, post a success story. If you've become a semi-finalist in a contest, post a success story. If you've got an amazing meeting with a development exec, post a success story. All of this helps. And it helps us find you. So success stories is one. We also go and hunt in the Writers Showcase. The Writers Showcase is, you can put up any of your work on there. I would say, add a poster, because everyone likes pictures. It also gives us an understanding of the tone of your script. If you have a poster up, you can make it for free on Canva now. Canva has free options as well as the paid options. So make a poster. Make sure your logline's really up to date. We do have a logline service. This is not an advert for the ISA, but we do have a logline service. So, make sure your logline's really together and really does your project justice. And then post it on your Writer Showcase, because remember to tag the right genres. So is it a romance? Is it a thriller? Is it a horror? You can tag a few of them, because that's how we search too. Because the people, when they're like, I actually know I'd quite like to read a thriller today, then we'll search for thrillers on the Writer Showcase. And then we look at the writers that come up from there. So the Writer Showcase is a place. Enter our contests. There's a reason why we give you 4 free entries every year if you're ISA Connect, because the contest is a great place to find new writers. Now, you might think, I don't have a chance. No one reads those scripts. And I think there are some contests where that might be true, but this is not the ISA. The ISA has a very diligent and thorough reading process. We have a massive team of readers that work with us. And that's because we're trying to find good writers and good scripts. It's not just a money-making enterprise to steal your cash and, make you feel better about you doing something about your work and about your career. This is actually us going like, okay, how can we find you? Because it is hard to find new writers. It is hard to find people that are slogging away in their bedroom or at home every night when they're finished work. So how do we find you? And contests is actually a really good way, which is why we do the free contests. Also development evaluations. There are also paid contests, by the way, and there are a great load of contests on the site, not just ISA ones, but every single contest has been, what's the word?
Vetted. Yeah.
Vetted, made sure it's a good one. Every contest on our site has been vetted to make sure that they do pay the prize money, that they do actually do what they say they're going to do. So if you are going to enter a contest, I think the ISA is a good place to start to enter from.
But just to make it clear there that the third-party contests that list on the ISA site, we don't read all of those entries too. We are only reading all the entries. Yeah, just to make that clear.
The reason why we say to enter other contests is also because that brings and adds to your writer's resume. And that's another thing we look for the development slate. We look at how many projects you have, how active you are in actually making your career work for yourself. If you are entering contests, where projects that you have landed in other contests. Obviously we think ours are the best, why wouldn't we? But there are some other very good ones out there. So we kind of see if you've placed in those contests too. It all just adds to your profile. It all just adds to you showing us that you're committed to your writing and you're committed to your work. And that profile is a good segue too. Always make sure your ISA bio is up to date, that you go back and you refine it often, because that's also the next thing we go to. If we've found your success story, I then click on you to see what you're up to. Who are you? What kind of writer are you? How do you speak about your writing? Where do you see your writing? Do you know what kind of writer you are? Do you know where your work would likely live? Do you know what your voice is? Because that is actually very helpful to me too. We talk a lot about voice, but that isn't about you only have to be a romance writer. That's just, these problems are the things that haunt me when I try to go to sleep at night. That's your brand. And really knowing what that is a very useful tool for you as a writer, and very useful tool for me as someone looking at writers. I had a little blip there of my Google thing. I don't know if you could hear it. Anyway, so do make sure your profile's up to date. Do add a photo. The gray face doesn't work for us. You know what I mean? Even if you have a success story, if you have a little gray face rather than your photo, you could do a poster. You can do something that's inspirational to you, but we will only post success stories onto our main site if you have a picture. So that, just be warned about that. So your profile is a good place. We're looking for you there. We also get referrals. I'm getting referrals from managers and agents that know about our site, that have found us through writing gigs. We're having managers and agents submit their writers to writing gigs through the ISA, because they can see that this is a valuable resource, and that actually you might be found as a writer, and this is another way to maybe get a paid gig, or start a relationship with a director, or just enhance your career in some way. So I get referrals from managers and agents, and also from other screenwriters. So screenwriters that are on the development slate quite often will recommend a friend of theirs because they've had a great time, and they're like, you should know about this writer. I think they would benefit from knowing you, and you would benefit from knowing them. So we're always up for referrals.
I mean, it's just a good example that there's no one path. We always say this when it comes to success, or making it even just your next step. So just like that and the development slate, there's a lot of different ways, I think, is the essence of it.
Yes. I mean, I think you can also get notes from the ISA. We do kind of different varying amounts of notes. Some are attached to contests, and then you can do a development evaluation, which is more of a deep dive. And then you could also do an executive note. We have the accelerator, the marketing notes, and the executive call notes. They're all different packages. So if there is a writer that comes through from those and really kind of excels, then we talk to each other, because again, everyone's connected in the ISA. Everyone is looking for the writer, even though we're the development team. Everyone doing other jobs inside the ISA is also on the lookout. We also have initiatives, so the diversity initiative, and we have this student fellowship that's coming up. They're free contests. Again, adding more, there's not a conventional contest, it's a free one just to look for those voices. So that is something to enter. If you are a college student right now, and it's any age, it's not just young people, it's anyone that's in secondary education. And then if it's the diversity initiative is really about finding fresh voices. We also have a pitch panel I think it's yearly, sometimes twice yearly, depending on our availability, where we ask you to submit 90-second pitches. It is worth you doing that. It's worth you taking the time to create a 90-second pitch, so that then you can show us you first off, because that's the thing, is like you record yourself, and it's so lovely to see these writers. And then we get to hear you and your passion about your projects, and you tell us what it's about. It's also just good practice for you, because being able to pitch yourself and your work to an executive if you meet them, or just someone in a lift, or just someone you're chatting to in a dog park. Craig always tells a story, the founder of the ISA, how he got his first money for his first work on his TV show from an investor in a dog park who was chatting about his show. So I think remembering that you need to be able to kind of like honor, if someone clicks their fingers, tell me about yourself. You've got it ready. Tell me about your work. You've got it ready. So those pitch practice is actually a good practice for you, and it's a great way for us to find people. So it is really, we are looking. It has become harder to be on the development slate now, just because we're 10 years in with the development slate. So 10 years and a lot of writers that we like along the way. And some of them have gone on to some amazing things. One of our writers has just been nominated for a Daytime Emmy. We have writers that are staffed on shows. We have writers that have produced web series and done very well. We've had them win contests, film festivals. I actually got an email only yesterday from one of our Table Read My Screenplay Hollywood winners back in the day. And she said, "Thank you for being one of the first people that believed in me." And she now is working in shows. She's staffed on shows. She's done Dynasty. She's done a number of shows. So we can spot talent early. So if you're like, if only someone could see me, I promise you, if you're good, we will find you and we will see you.
Yeah, but first step always starts with the writer doing something and letting us know that they're doing something, and then they can be found.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say they're found, they are welcomed onto the slate. Then what is their life? How does the development slate help them continue to develop their craft, promote them, or like what's happening then for the writers?
The development slate first just becomes an accolade. So then you should add it to everything. You know what I mean? So if you have a signature that you send out as your writing persona, add it to ISA Development Slate. So you just kind of begin there. So take it first as an accolade, join the Facebook group. You get free ISA Connect for a year. So there's certain kind of benefits straight away that come to you from us. We don't charge you for being on the slate. We actually make it free for you, for us to help you. After that, it's really about initially how much you want to help yourself. We will ask you if you want representation, if that's something you're looking for. Not everyone needs representation, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's better just to be working stuff out and getting your voice out there. And then when you're ready, you're going to get the right kind of representation. But everyone believes this idea that this is going to magically solve my career. I have to say I disagree. There are plenty of managers out there that don't do very much for you. What you need to do for yourself is be proactive. Are you looking at fellowships? Is there a grant you can apply for? Are you making sure all your scripts are up to date? Are you entering free contests where you can? Are you on the lookout for opportunities on our writing gigs? That kind of thing is that first thing about really kind of being in charge of your own career. If you do want to find representation, then we have a process that we go through with our development slate writers, where basically we make you do the work because it's your rep at the end of the day. But if you think, oh my goodness, I'd love to be with Zero Gravity, or I'd love to be with Writ Large, or I'd like to be with this boutique agency that I found, then we ask you to do reverse engineering. Like, why? Why do you want to be with that manager? Why do you want to be with that agent? Why would they want you? So you look at the writers that they have, you look at the shows, the writers they are on. Do you fit that? Is it your brand? And you find a connection to the manager and yourself and the writers that they have. You're either filling a gap or you're joining a band of like-minded writers. And then from there, we ask you to write the connection, and then we'll send it on your behalf. So we'll do outreach on your behalf. But we're not recommending managers to you because we can't fit that. That's not our fit to make for you. It's such a personal thing for you as a writer, for you to find the person that fits you. You're hiring them. It feels so much sometimes it's the other way around. But you have to find someone that actually is going to care about you, that's going to work for you in your career. And you need to make that choice, not just have someone else do it for you. Also, that shows me how committed you are to your career. So we're not just going to hand you things. You have to do the work. So we'll do outreach on your behalf. We look at pitch decks for you if you put together a pitch deck. If your script is finally ready to go out, we do not do notes on the way because we don't have time. There's too many writers and it's not fair on the others if we single some people out. But if your script is really, really ready to go out and you just say, is there anything that I'm missing, or is there a final polish I can do? You can submit it to us. We have a portal for the development slate writers where they can put their finished scripts and then they go through a reading process. We also work on pitch practices. So if you want to talk about yourself, your brand, your projects that you're going on, we can schedule that in with you. We also have a checkup at least twice a year with you to check in, see how you're doing, see what's happening for you, see if there's anything you need help with. But really, we offer the chance that you can send us a monthly update to tell us what's happening, see what you're working on, so you're always front of mind. But really, it's down to you to utilize the development slate and make it work for you. We are here for you, but we always say you're going to have to do a lot of the reaching out because there are 190 writers on the development slate, and that's a lot of people to look after. Every year, we select a top 25 of screenwriters to watch. It's the top 25 screenwriters to watch. And when you become one of those writers, then you do get a bit more attention. Because those 25 writers, we are making a concerted effort to set up production company meetings, set up general meetings where we can, to really see if there is something that they need help with. We do a kind of overall career focus with each one of those people and say, okay, we're going to try and do 2 things that are going to help you. Again, it's really about them helping themselves. There is no magic formula. We don't have the answer. But what we're doing is we're being a support network for you. And when you need some advice, when you need someone to, I don't know, just be an ear. If you need someone to go like, okay, how is this working? Is this script really working? Is this pitch deck getting across my message? We can work with you on that. So the top 25, again, I think it's also, you have to add it everywhere and tell everyone. We have found that has worked for fellowships. I think, we always say that everyone is so scared to take a chance on anyone. So they're like, but they also want to be the one that discovered you. So what you can do, though, is if you say that I've been chosen here, I have this accolade, then other people are more likely to take a chance on you. So it's a case of like, oh, okay, well, they like them, so then they might have something good. And then later on, they're going to try and pretend it as they found you first. But that's just how it is. That's everyone trying to claim, it's your work, you did the work. We don't ever forget that. So definitely it's a case of use this accolade. Then I think the other really big thing that we do at the development team is we have meetings with executives, nearly 200 companies that we talk to on a regular basis. And we have check-ins with them to see what their mandates are. And then I say it's like we're a giant Tinder or Grinder, or sometimes Plenty of Fish. Then there's Ria, or there's a posh one as well, I can never remember the name of. But anyway, I'm not on those apps. And we matchmake. Where basically we have these incredible writers, we find the mandate from these production companies, these managers, these directors, and then we put people together. And if you're on the development slate, that is something we are looking to do for you. And that is really our way of opening some doors, really being the conduit. But we are very careful about that outreach. It feels like some people, some managers, some, not everyone, they want you to kind of like say, oh, well, I sent out your work to, 50 people. And maybe 2 of them are right out of that 50. Whereas we're so selective about the work and where we send it, which means that we have a very good return rate and a read rate from the producers that we send work to. They very often respond to the log lines we'll send. And also we only send 2 or 3 at a time. It's not like you're not in a big batch of 50 people and 50 log lines to get lost in. You're in a small batch of maybe 3 or 4 that are particular to the mandate they just said. And that's really just about us showing respect for people's time and also respect for the writer and the work that they did, so that you don't get lost in a pile of other people's work, so that you do have that focus and attention. But that kind of curation and that specialty choice means that there is less going out. It's more curated. So it will take a bit longer, but this, as you know, Scott, this business is glacial. Nothing happens. There's a reason why it says like it's 10 years, behind the scenes, because it really is, it really does take a long time.
Well, that reminds me of my dead friend Zoe. We did an event to celebrate that movie, which is coming out fairly soon. It was very successful with one of our writers at the helm, AJ Bermudez. But it was Guillermo del Toro spoke with, I can't remember if it was the director or Legion M, and said, one thing that I need, you to know about this industry is that nothing happens. Meaning it's not just going to happen, and it's not going to happen fast, but it's going to be you pushing that boulder slowly. It's nothing happens unless you're doing that.
Absolutely. And we introduced AJ to the director and the other co-writer. It was us that put AJ into that movie and made that connection at the ISA. She did an interview for us talking about her work and her experience on the development slate. And someone who she was doing the interview with said, actually, I would like to introduce you to this writer. And that's how she started to get that work on My Dead Friend Zoe. So those are the things that we do at the ISA. We will offer interviews. then we share you on the site. So if you're on our development slate, we do development slate interviews. And again, it's just a way to get your voice out. I mean, you can't be shy about your work I think is really what we're learning. You have to be behind it. You have to be confident in yourself. And you have to realize that even though it feels like, oh gosh, it's so scary to get yourself out there, that actually we need different voices. We need new voices. We need your voice. Everyone has a story to tell. And so be brave, get it out there, and don't be afraid to throw your hat in the ring.
And on a note that's very timely, I know the ISA is right now looking, and they will be looking for, probably the next month or more, for that next top 25. So if you have been sitting on a success story that you've been meaning to get around to, this is a wonderful time to actually create it. And there's ways to share it on social and stuff like that too. So beyond the ISA, but if you have a success story you've been meaning to write up, do it now, because the ISA is really looking. You might be on that top 25 writers to watch for next year. Final question here. Okay, so a writer's on the slate. Do they have a year where they got to make things happen, or they're kicked off, or is there an expiration date on it? How does it work? Once you're in, what happens? How long can you stay on it?
Well, it's 1 year of free. So like you do get 1 year where it's ISA Development Slate is completely free for you. Then after that, you just get charged the normal ISA Connect rate, which is $10 a month or $99 for the year, which is not a huge amount. 2 coffees, if that, a month. So then, but you don't have to pay to play. Like there are some places where you have to do that. We don't want to do that. However, that is how we fund our business, is the ISA Connect membership. So, and that is part of your support. It also adds something about paying and being invested in yourself. Even that $10 means you're a bit more committed. So that after that first year, we'd like to see that you would like to stay and that you are committed to your work and your moving forward, your progress. We do have a meeting after that first year to see what's happening, to see whether you're making the most of the development slate, seeing if you are keeping in contact with us, if you are sending us a monthly update about what's happening with you, if you are entering the contests, if you are responding to our original writing assignments that we get, because we do get those from companies sometimes, and we put them to the development slate. Or I'll be asked for recommendations, say for horror writers, or is there something, is there mothers? This is some comedy, but they need to be mothers. I can look at our development slate and make recommendations. But sometimes it's just a general call of like, how are you? Do you want to come to we've got a fall fest coming up. We have a party coming up in LA, October 5th, 4 p.m. If you want to come along, I'm sure we can link the details. But if you show up to those and say hello, then it means that you care about your career, and you also care about us. You do become a bit of an ambassador for the ISA. It's nice to hear when you tag us in your success stories, or something's going on and you kind of go like, thanks to the ISA, or you get notes and you go like, these notes are brilliant from the ISA. So like, but we love being tagged in your good news, basically, at the ISA. So if you have things that you want to tell us that are happening in your life, we love being tagged about those. Whether we were part of it or not, it's just a celebration of our community, because the ISA is a community of writers. And what we're trying to do is see all the writers in our community. And I feel that's impossible. You know what I mean? That is impossible. But we try and find ways so that you can show us that you're here and you're part of it. And that is the success stories and the writer showcase and the writing gigs. I have to say the writing gigs is a great way to show that you're interested in your career, because we have a team of readers that go through the writing gigs, and they're selected. They go through a very detailed selection process, again, to fit the mandate. And then when we have outside writing gigs, they go through their selection process. We don't have as much control over that because we're not in charge of them. They are searching themselves. But if you are interested in furthering your career, apply for the writing gigs, because we are searching there too for the best writers. So I think that's the thing, is that we're very interested in finding you, the amazing community that we have out there. And we have set up ways to do that I think is, if maybe not everyone realizes is there, and maybe doesn't realize there's a human really searching at the end of that. This is all people at the ISA. It's not kind of some algorithm that you're being fed through. You know what I mean? It's like a human. It's a human looking at your work and reading your logline and checking you out.